Alright, here we are. Hard to believe. Week 5. And this would be day 8 for networking. And this is Monday. Today we did some more work here. We actually we really got some connectivity done. We put PCs on their switches and eventually worked our way out to the internet. So we made some progress in the course there. We talked about network access, this physical layer. So let's get first thing I did was I talked about the layers. So we're talking about the physical layer today primarily, but we reviewed, okay? So for example here, at the data link, when we put on those media access control, right, those MAC addresses, source and destination, we create a frame before we put it out on the wire, okay? So we encapsulate it. Prior to that, we have the idea of a packet in which we add the IP, and that IP address is going to allow us for the best path. Okay, so then let's move up to where at the transport layer we create a segment. We've got this data coming down and we need to segment it. We actually split it into parts, okay, and then those are going to become packets. Make sense? See, those are going to become packets, and we're going to add the IP addressing on them. At this transport layer, we're going to decide, is it sent TCP or UDP? There's actually more to it than that, but that's all we need to worry about today. So we figure out how we're going to send it. We send the packet down. Okay, the IP address gets added, it creates a packet. We actually send the segment down. And then it moves down, gets a MAC address. Now we have a frame, and that frame can go on to the medium, whatever type of media it is. We send it through a wire, in the air, or through fiber optic. So that led us to start talking about unshielded twisted pair wire. We talked a little bit about category 5 and category 6. And we got then discussing the restrictions. Okay, we talked about main distribution facility, intermediate distribution facility, intermediate distribution facility. So out of the main, we can create intermediates, and out of the intermediates, we can only create one more intermediate in order to avoid daisy chaining our networks way out. So these, from here, you would go to switches, and those switches would access, you'd have your PCs accessing the network. Then we got talking about these distances, okay? This cabling here to here, we'll refer to that as vertical cabling, and the cabling here going out to the workstations, we refer to that as horizontal cabling. And in a lot of plants, they actually indicate those by color. So we got vertical here, and then when you have, let's say, another intermediate distribution facility, there can be a switch in there that then distributes horizontally out to all your devices. And it wouldn't have to be a switch. It could be an access point. All right. We talked about the length, 100 meters for that TP. It's further than that for fiber. Wireless, of course, you're restricted in how far in the air you can be away, your device away from the access point. So we discussed that. We discussed the design here a little bit, and we took a little time to look at the cables and so forth. a lot more of that on Friday or during the week and work on some of that. Then the switches, we talked about the diagram and we had all these switches connected, and we connected to a switch I was managing, and this was the management IP. And then I said I needed this address, and I made that address the address here at this router, which became the default gateway, literally the default gateway for all of these devices. Come here, you go here. And then inside there, we did network address translation in the router. And so we took these 192, 168, 1 addresses, right, /24, and what we did was we converted those, so when they went on this network they became a 172, 20, 0, some number. Okay, so we did network address translation, so then they can function on this network. They actually got translated again here to go out to the internet. And then we got, most people got it working. I can't say for sure everybody, but then we looked a little bit at some of the configuration. Okay, so this was inside interface. Oh no, that's an interface we're not using. Here is, right here is the command to create the default gateway in the router. So that would be going out. And this command in unison with this command, this does the network address translation. And then we looked at it. We looked at the NAT translations, and they saw the port numbers. And we're going to look at that as we move forward quite a bit. So a little bit of a look at all of it. We this Ethernet here in the router, that was going out to the other network, so I got an address from the other network, and this is doing that outside. This is the internal address, so that became, this address became that default. This became the default gateway for all of the workstations. And then for DNS, they used Google's 8.8.8.8. Okay, so, and this was NAT on the inside here, and this address, let me see if I can draw this a little more specifically. This address here was the address right here in the router, and that became the default gateway for all the traffic on all those switches in there, because they all were on the same network. And then here is where we have the route going out, and I showed you the NAT on the other slide. Alright, it was a good day. We got a lot done in an hour. Friday we're going to keep working on chapter 4, the physical aspects, the wiring and so forth, and there's a couple labs we're going to do. So that's it for today.